Howdy BookTube, Nikki here, bringing you my belated February wrap-up. I have been sick, so I haven't been sounding like a human person when I speak, so that's why I haven't made this video before right now, but I'm doing it. It's happening. February wrap-up. 3 of the books that I read I'm not going to talk about because I am still planning on making an Animorphs video. My plan was to make it at the end of this month when I had presumably read 10 of these books, but I'm only up to book 8, so I will make an Animorphs video. Not that anyone super cares, because Animorphs is a bit niche, I feel. Let me know if you're an Animorphs fan. So I've read those throughout the month, but the first book that I finished in the month of February was Veronica Mars, The $1,000 Tan Line. This is written by Rob Thomas, the creator of the show, and Jennifer Graham, and it follows on from the movie, which followed on from the TV show. Now, I'm a huge Veronica Mars fan. Like, V-Mars is where it's at. I have to confess that I didn't watch it when it was first being aired on TV, mostly because they kept playing this ad with this one soundbite from the one episode that Paris Hilton is in, and I was like, why would you put Paris Hilton in a dramatic TV show? That's ridiculous. She's only in one episode though, and she plays a character that you're not really meant to like. When I found out that they were kickstarting for the movie, I got straight onto their site and I immediately supported the Kickstarter, so I have like a t-shirt and a poster that's now signed by a couple of the actors. Oh my gosh. I also managed to get into one of only 3 screenings of the film in theatres in Australia. There were only 3 in the country on the release day, and then that was it. We drove an hour, the seats were terrible, but it was so good. I was a little bit apprehensive about this book. I was worried that it perhaps might not capture the magic of the TV show and the brilliance of the movie, but I was so pleasantly surprised. So for those that are unfamiliar, let me educate you on the magic of Veronica Mars. Veronica Mars is a high school student in the city of Neptune, where there pretty much is billionaires or people that work for billionaires. There's really no middle class. Her best friend was murdered, and her father, who was the sheriff at the time, blamed the wrong person and got fired and disgraced, and now is a private detective. So she helps out her dad with private eye stuff, but she's also trying to figure out who killed her best friend. It starts there, it goes like super beyond that, and it's just really good, and it's snarky and clever, and so I was hoping that the book would capture all of that, and it totally did. I was a little bit taken back when I opened it up and it wasn't narrated by Veronica Mars, because in the show, which is a bit noirish, Veronica Mars narrates the thing, so I was like, yo, where's her voice at? What is this? But it worked out really well, because in the show, obviously we get Veronica Mars' narration, but we also see a lot of her character outside of that, so we got that in this book. I feel like the snarkiness and the cleverness of the writing was totally on point. All of the characters were just perfect, and we saw so many old favorites, and they weren't just shoehorned in, they were totally within the story. And we also had an excellent balance of like mystery of the day or whatever, the mystery of the book, and personal drama for Veronica Mars, because there's always a solid amount of personal drama for Veronica Mars. I really was just amazed at how well this captured the show, and I gave it 5 stars. After that, I read Stars Above by Marissa Meyer. This is a collection of stories set in and around the world of the Lunar Chronicles, which I love. You've probably heard a lot about this and the Lunar Chronicles, so I'm not going to go into it too much. We have the characters that we know and love, and we see a bit more of their lives. We have new characters set in the same world, which is really exciting. I didn't love all of the stories, but I feel like that's consistent with pretty much every short story collection that I've read. I can think of very few where I've loved every single story, because it's like opening up bits of the world and just shining a light on parts, and some parts I don't care about that much, and other parts I'm like, yes, that's awesome. So it's, you know, that's the experience. The thing that I was most worried about in this one was that there was an epilogue, and I hate epilogues. I'm sorry. I hate epilogues. They're really annoying. I know it's a personal thing, but I find it really weird that an author who's written like a stack of books or a trilogy unfolding this grand story over a period of time just like shoots forward, say 18 years, and gives us like a this is what happens to everybody sort of list off of where they are now. Like, okay, I love Harry Potter, but I hate the epilogue. I love Hunger Games, but that epilogue. And so when I found out there was an epilogue in this, I was like, oh no, can we just not? But this didn't feel like one of those, we're gonna shoot forward a whole bunch of time and tell you where everyone is now. But it was more like a chapter set in a future story of these characters that just sort of checked in with them, but also left it pretty open. It was actually my favorite part. Overall, I gave this 4 stars because I liked it. Cool. My foot is going numb because I've chose to sit in a stupid position again. After that, I read You're Never Weird on the Internet, Almost by Felicia Day. And I knew I was gonna love this. I knew I was gonna really enjoy this because I love Felicia Day. She created The Guild, which is like just such an important web series, not just because of the content, but because of the way that it was produced, and she pretty much did it on no budget with friends, and then it became this much bigger thing, and now she's got Geek and Sundry, which is a huge kind of company that produces heaps of stuff. It's amazing what she's done, and I just love her. I met her once and it was just the best. I don't even know. But this freaking book, this is legitimately the most inspiring memoir that I've ever read. In terms of like practical inspiration for creativity. Does that make sense? She tells the story of growing up, a weird homeschooled kid, getting into gaming and stuff, and getting into sort of acting, creating stuff, being typecast, being told no and having to figure out other ways to do stuff. It's hard to explain, but through all of that, I felt like I could relate to her a lot. I felt like it was not like, if I can do it, you can too. It's like, no, really, if someone like me can do it and this is how I did it, you can also just go make the thing. She also had a really important chapter on Gamergate, which if you don't know what that is, it's like a whole thing with gaming and women in gaming and gaming journalism being treated like rubbish. It was really good to hear her voice on that. She'd been vocal about it before. Made me so angry I wanted to punch a bunch of people. Just why? If you are familiar with Felicia Day and you've watched The Guild, or you just want to read something about creating stuff, especially online, I think that this is a perfect memoir to read. It's funny and it's smart and it's inspiring, and I gave it 5 stars. That's where I hit like my creative bubble, where I started doing things like watching Lizzie Bennet Diaries in its entirety with commentary on the DVDs and watching a bunch of stuff on YouTube, just feeling really creative. So I wasn't reading as much, but then I sort of wanted to get back into reading because I felt like eventually I was just wasting time. So I picked up a book that I knew would get me out of this kind of bubbly, slumpish place, and that was The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot. I read this last year and I gave it 5 stars then. It's about a girl named Mia who discovers she's a princess and she keeps a diary. I was kind of expecting that I might, on the second reading, find problems with it or rate it a little bit lower, but I didn't. I love this. I love Mia. She has such a funny voice, but she's also pretty clever and really self-aware. I read a review that was like, "Is all girls care about hair and makeup and boys?" And I'm like, did you read the book? Because I mean, yeah, sure, she talks about her hair and boys, but she also talks about her mom and how much she loves her family, and she gets frustrated when her grandma makes her take princess lessons, but she's not actually learning anything about diplomacy. She's learning about hair and makeup. There's a bit where she writes this essay about 10 women who've inspired her. I feel like it summarizes the book. It's hilarious, but it's also very true, and it's kind of surprisingly feminist, and it's just really great. And after that, I read the second book, Take Two, because this was my TBR pick of the month, and I love this one as well. I didn't rate it as highly. I gave it, I think, 4 stars. There were some things in the plot that I'm sure are going to be picked up later on in the books. I was like, what? That's weird. And there was one thing that I kind of saw coming. I really want my own Michael Moscovitz. Like, where can I get one of those? Because he is so good. There are actually big differences between the movies and the books. I love both the movies. They're so great. Julie Andrews, woohoo! But in the books, the grandma is not nice and the dad is alive. I'm hoping to continue and finish this series this year. Goodness knows that I need to finish some series because I'm halfway through like 1 million of them. And the last thing that I read this month was a comic book, and that was Generation Y, Miss Marvel Volume 2. This is written by G. Willow Wilson and illustrated by Adrian Alfona, who I love, and Jacob Wyatt as well. This follows the continuing adventures of Kamala and her adventures of Ms. Marvel. I felt like this definitely was a really good step up from the first one. It really just uses the first one as a launch pad and really feels like it has so much direction. It also expands the world a bit, which I love when comic books do that. I love when they kind of cross over. You see things more in the context of like the Marvel universe. So we see Wolverine, which is, oh my goodness, Wolverine and Kamala. It's hilarious, hilarious. Oh, it's so good. It's my favorite part of the entire thing. And we see some of the Inhumans, and we get more intel on what the heck happened, how she got her powers and how they work and that sort of thing. I was really close to giving it 5 stars. I think it's like a 4.5. The artwork is so good. I love some of these big panels where you see it kind of zoomed out. Like, it's not necessarily a whole page, but you see like a massive amount of stuff happening in the one panel, and there's so much to look at, and it's really, really cool. Did I mention there's a massive dog? There's a giant dog in this. Amazing. Let me know in the comments below if you read any of these books. What do you think of them? Are you interested? Would you watch Veronica Mars? If you watch Veronica Mars, what's another good TV show to watch? Because sometimes I'm like, I could watch Veronica Mars again. Maybe I could watch something else. What's something else I can watch? I'm gonna go find a new position to sit in because my feet are numb. Once again, this has happened before. And I will see you next time. But in the meantime, wiggle your toes for me because I can't right now. and I need to live vicariously through your toe wiggling. You can also check out a big haul that I did if you haven't seen it and you want to watch a giant haul of 50 books. I'm gonna link that somewhere. Notice how I'm like, I'm gonna go now, but then I always talk for like 5 minutes more. Jeez, just shush. And so I read it in like 2 seconds and I really, really enjoyed it. I had to get the hardcover though. I had to get the hardcover because, just... Hello.